All righty, here we go. It is a brand new Flyers Daily for the 22nd of January, 2025. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Jason Myrtetus, happy to be back with you tonight. A little pep in my step. And it's amazing. I said it before on recent episodes. It's amazing what a team winning games will do for you and your energy and how it'll change your mood, your outlook, your everything. That's what sports is for. Flyers do it once again. They get it done in overtime, late in overtime, over a team that I know it's not a divisional opponent in Detroit, but it's a conference opponent that they are battling down the stretch here for wild card positioning. They all get outshot in the game 28-26. Face-offs, a dead heat. Pretty low event first period, not tons at either end, but scoreless after one period of play. Pick it up in the second period, and 5:21 into the second period, Joel Farabee, who sat out 3 straight games, has come back, and I think he's looked really good. He looks like the time upstairs really helped him. Now, no player is going to tap out and say, Coach, take me out because I think it'll help me. That's just not the way athletes and in particular pro athletes are wired. But sometimes that's exactly what they do need. And I don't know if Farabee needed that or not. I don't know if the results would have been the same. But he looks like he's got a lot of jump in his game. And it looks like he's got a lot of attitude in his game again, too, which is something I don't say that about a lot of players. When Joel Farabee's playing well, he's got a tude. He carries a tude on the ice. And he picks up the Flyers goal, is able to go backhand bar down, and best Alex Lyon, and gives the Flyers the 1-0 lead. Couturier and Mishkov with an assist. I thought the whole line was good. Mishkov was on it early. I think he had 4 or 5 shots, 6 shot attempts in the first period. And the Flyers go to the third up 1-0. But just 30 seconds into the third, it's the Detroit Red Wings who get it tied when Ben Sherratt picks up his second of the season. And that makes it a 1-1 game. Flyers and Red Wings tied with the entirety, essentially, of a period to go. No scoring coming down the stretch, although I thought Detroit had some really good scoring chances. Flyers had a giveaway just outside their zone. That was Morgan Frost and led to a flurry of really good chances by Detroit. Sam Ersson stood in there. He stood in there and made the saves he had to make, made the saves his team needed him to make, and they get it to overtime, made some saves in the overtime. And then eventually, at 4:34 of overtime, who had Rasmus? Did you have Rasmus Ristolainen on your bingo card in OT? I didn't. He did. He ends up putting the puck over the goal line as Owen Tippett went backhand, and it kind of rested right there. Farabee was kind of going in for the tip as well. We believe at the time of taping here that Rasmus Ristolainen was the one who pushed it over the goal line, and he gets the game-winning goal. 2-1 Flyers. Again, Ristolainen in the game, too, I thought was excellent again as well. Jumping into plays, first in on a forecheck on a couple of occasions. And you know when he's F1, when he's going in as the first forechecker, he's going to throw the body. And he did. And then one time he got the puck in, pumped it deep, stayed with it, had a wraparound chance on Alex Lyon. I believe that was in the third period. I thought he was really good in the game again. Flyers get the win. They come out with the 2 points. Detroit, they snag a point. But the Flyers, since that game against Anaheim, continue to chug along. And this is what we talked about it at the time of that game, that post-game show and on that Monday show with Bill Meltzer. That needed to be an inflection point. If they came out of that Anaheim game at Wells Fargo Center, the 6-0 win, and were kind of up and down like they've kind of been all season long, then we knew what this team was. And it wasn't going to be a playoff team. That kind of would have been it and the end of story. But that hasn't been the case. 6-0 win against Anaheim. 4-3 come from behind win at Wells Fargo to wrap up the homestand against the Cup champion Florida Panthers. Then a 3-2 loss in the shootout against Columbus. Then you go to New York, win on the island with a really good second period and a short bench when Ryan Poehling gets taken out and hit high and has been out since. You win that game 5-3. You go to New Jersey and beat a really good Devils team 3-1. And then last night, you come back home after a 3-game road trip, not necessarily an easy spot, against a team in Detroit who's 7-3 in their last 10, did lose their last 2, but you get the job done and you get a 2-1 overtime win. This is the spot in the season that the Flyers needed. They needed that Dallas game to be exactly what it has been. So far it has. They need to continue to ride it now. Now you're back in the mix. Now the key is not only just getting back into the mix, but staying in the mix and getting over that one other step of becoming a team that's in the top 8, not just knocking on the door of the top 8, and then being able to sustain it. That's why it's so hard to chase standings, because you chase it, you get there, but then you're not going to win games at an 80 points percentage, and you fall back out. This is why it's tough to chase it. They put themselves back in the conversation. Now they have to continue it to maintain it. You got the New York Rangers coming up on Thursday on the road. You got the New York Islanders coming up on Friday. It's a home and home, or excuse me, a back-to-back on Thursday, Friday with the two different New York teams. And then they'll come home on Monday and take on the New Jersey Devils once again. And you're getting down to the end of the month. 29th, you get New Jersey on the road. And then you get to wrap up the month, the New York Islanders, all divisional opponents. So it's right in front of them right now. Good win for the Flyers. Sam Ersson. It's amazing what competent goaltending will do. In his last 8 games, he's got a record of 7-1. He's given up 12 goals in 8 games. That's an absurdly low number. His save percentage over .938 in those last 8 games. People I know wanted to throw him out into the bagster, chuck him out to the garbage. That's why goaltending is one of those things. It's also a byproduct of what is happening in front of the goaltending. Danny Brière talked about that in his media availability, which we're going to get to in a second, about everybody just wants to point at goaltending and blame it on that. That's a little too simple sometimes. And I agree with him. I sent him a note after and said, you're going to get a pin from the goaltending union because you didn't just lump it on the goaltending because of the result. Sometimes goaltending is also a result of environment. Sam Ersson, 7-1 in his last 8 games, a save percentage about .940, and only given up in those 8 games 12 goals. Boy, it's a mentally strong player right there. I think people might want to rescind some of their hot takes that we were seeing on Flyers Twitter or some of the Facebook fan pages, just throwing a guy out when he hits a rough patch. It's about the overall. This guy's a good player. He needs good environment around him. Can't do it all on his own. Needed to be better at points of the season. But once he's gotten healthy and been able to rely on staying in the lineup, I think you're seeing the best of Sam Ersson once again. And that's got to be a catalyst going forward the rest of this year as well. All right, we mentioned it. Daniel Brière met with the Philadelphia media yesterday, his kind of mid-season press availability. So if you missed that, I thought there were some interesting things in here. Here's the Flyers general manager discussing his team's first half and much more.
So we're a little bit past the halfway point of the season. When you look at what's worked, what hasn't, where do you see this team?
There's been some ups and downs. I think the way we played early in the season probably wasn't reflective of the team that we are. There's many reasons for that. But the way we've played, especially lately, I think we're starting to see our identity kind of come back. It's been good. I'd like to have a few more wins, obviously, in the standings. But the way we've played in the last 15, 20 games, I've been very pleased, and it's kind of showed a little bit of what we are, the kind of team that we are. A little stingy defensively. Goaltending has obviously been better. The defense, I thought we were a little loose early in the season. And that's something that's really improved. And lately, since the Christmas break, we've been really good defensively.
Danny, you guys are 4 points out of a playoff spot, despite the fact that you guys have the lowest save percentage, .881 in the league from the goalies. I guess from your perspective, how much of the fact that you guys are currently in a playoff spot can you attribute to the goaltending, or do you think that's too reductive?
We have to be careful. It's really easy. It's really easy to just blame the goalies. That's the easy way out. When you look at it, it reminds me like minor hockey. You win a game, it's whoever scores the goals, and you lose a game, it's the goalie's fault. Like, there's been some bad games. We're not going to deny that. But at the same time, it's not all on goaltending, and especially lately, Ersson has really taken a step. He was up and down earlier, but Sam Ersson to me strikes me as a goalie that when he starts to feel it, when he starts to feel comfortable, he gets better and better. I remember last season, early in the season, we were wondering if he could even be a backup goalie. Early in the season, we were a little worried, and then he got into his groove and he got better and better. So him starting the season, you got to be careful analyzing him, and then he gets hurt and he's out for a certain amount of time, and coming back, it takes him a couple games to get back in it. So there's a lot of those games where he maybe coming out of those breaks, he wasn't as sharp, but then when he starts playing, it seems like he's a goalie that he starts to feel it, and he feels better and better, and he gets comfortable in there. So I've been pleased with him, especially lately. Fedotov had the rough start as well, but I think the first 3 starts he was really, really struggling. But since then he's been much better. Now he's proven that he's the way he's played. If you take out those first 3 starts, he's a capable backup goalie. But 2 weeks ago he was the number 3. So kudos to him for working his way back in. And Kolosov, I thought Kolosov started really well. And then on the back end for him, it's kind of gone the other way. So there's been, a flip-flop between the two. So it hasn't been perfect. But overall, I think it's really too easy for us to just blame the goalies on that. We're happy that we're in the mix again, but we'd like to have a few more wins and be on the inside rather, and hopefully we're going to keep pushing that way.
You have 3 goalies on the roster right now.
Yep.
I guess just obviously Alexei's the only one who has the waiver exemption. Why, what's the plan for him moving forward?
We're looking into that. There's a lot of moving parts. I mean, like I said, a few days ago he was the backup goalie, and we're looking at different options. And now, Fedotov is the backup, so we're looking at different things. We're also trying to be careful with Sam. He's played a lot. It's not ideal having 3 goalies. We realize that, but at the same time, taking some load off in practice for him, having 3 goalies in the meantime, I think we're going to practice less and less. So we're looking at different things here.
With Kolosov, I guess given everything that happened at the start of the year, is he willing to go down to the AHL if you guys make that decision?
As far as I know, yes. I don't have any reasons to believe that he wouldn't. I mean, if that would be his decision, but it's not. It has nothing to do with anything that's going on. That he was number 2 at some point, or that he's number 3 right now. That's all torts. I don't decide who plays, how much they play. I manage the team and the roster, and I let them coach.
You're about a month and a half from the trade deadline. What's just, I guess, the broad organizational philosophy headed into that one?
Nothing has changed. It's still the same for us. If there's something that makes sense for the future, we're going to look into it. And I've had a lot of different conversations. Around the league, I think everybody is in the same spot. They're looking at what the options are, and they're preparing for the deadline. There's many reasons for that, why it seems that it always happens closer to the deadline. I don't expect anything different this year, but we're in different conversations, and we're I guess setting things up for crunch time. That's what happened last year also. But we're always listening, and if something makes too much sense for the future of this organization, we're going to take it.
I think some of the outside noise is when's Danny going to make that big move, right? For a center or for another elite level talent. I know obviously you've said you're going to be patient and you're going to wait till the right move comes along. Has anything ever come close? Have you, do you feel maybe more the timeline's moved up maybe to get a center with Matvey here? How do you?
Well, what I can tell you on that is we've tried and we're trying and we're looking at what's out there. The reality is there's not a lot of high-end centermen in this league, and when teams have them, they want to keep them. or the price is crazy. So, and we're not willing to give up on our future at this point. Yes, I realize that it's a glaring need that we'd like to upgrade, but it has to make sense. And and I understand you guys want some work and you'd like to have a trade to keep you busy, but the reality is, if we force something, after 2 weeks we can't press undo and start from scratch again. So we got to be sure before we make a move. But believe me, we're trying. We're looking at everything that is out there, that is available, and see. We're even asking questions on some guys that aren't available, just to check in and to make sure.
Does it have to be a young guy, or could you envision maybe a guy that's over 30, and I'm just speaking in terms of the center position, that maybe not a long-term solution, but maybe a stopgap where...
If it makes sense, yes. But there's a lot that goes into play with that also. The length of the contract on the back end, the AAV obviously is another one, and what it's going to cost you. So, if it does make sense, absolutely. But, in most cases with those older guys, it doesn't.
Could you give a progress report on some of your top prospects like Luchenko, Andre, Bonk?
Well, as far as Luchenko, he's back in juniors, did not get traded at the deadline. Guelph is a team that is trying to come back in the playoff spot. They're on the outside looking in. We're happy with his progress. He's playing a lot. And, for the World Juniors, played for Canada. We were disappointed in the role they gave him. But when you look at the role they gave him, he performed great. We have higher expectation for him, and he's probably the best skater in the World Junior tournament, and he barely played. So that's out of our control, unfortunately. But in the role that they gave him, he was excellent. So we're excited about that. Bunk, different where he's in London. They're very highly rated team. They should make another long run in the playoffs. Exciting to see that from him. World Juniors with Team Canada, it's kind of the same thing. He had a big role, but they put him in positions that is not really what is going to be his strength moving forward, which was really weird to us. But again, we don't have any control over that. Overall, I thought he had a really good tournament in what we expect from him, and shutting down the opposition and playing against the top lines and the tough matchups. So we're excited for him to turn pro next season. Really looking forward to him, making his debut in the organization. You mentioned Emil Andre. Emil has been injured in the last week to 10 days, I believe. We're hoping that he returns this weekend for him. So Grans has been playing really well also down there. McDonald is coming around, getting better and better. So I don't know what the timeline is for those guys, but they're going in the right direction. They're playing some high minutes, heavy minutes, in a really good league. So anybody else that you're looking for?
Hockey News has the young Russian goalie ranked third in their top 10. And I haven't heard that much about him, but apparently he's doing really well there.
Yeah, we're hearing good things. He was here for a short stint last year before the development camp. He was excited to be here. Another 6'3", 6'4" goalies. There's him and Bjarnason, kind of in the same situation. So the future in net looks really good. They're both 19 years old. But it takes time for goalies to come around. So we're going to be patient with them. But it's really exciting to hear all the good things come out of Russia about Zavragin, and same thing with Bjarnason.
Sam Ersson for a second. Obviously, it sounds like you guys still believe in him, still very high on him. but this year is also, a fact-finding mission about these goalies. And with Sam, his first year over in North America kind of got ruined by groin injuries. He ended up having to get surgery, and now he's having recurring issues. Is there concern about the health and whether he can hold up to a high workload?
Yeah, you're always worried about that when injuries start coming back. It's something that we're going to monitor. I really believe in our staff down there to help him strengthen the area and make sure that he's okay. But there's definitely a lot of discussions with Sam between our athletic trainers, our strength coaches, to make sure he's put in the best position possible to succeed. As far as the goalie, yeah, we believe in him. We think there's something there. He's a gamer. You guys have seen him. He doesn't get affected by a bad goal or a bad game. He comes back strong. I love that trait of character that he has, that chip on his shoulder. He's like that little scrappy forward that always keeps coming back. So we do believe in him, yes.
If you look over the last 25 games, especially over the last 15 or so, you have been getting some balanced scoring, and some of that's coming from the middle. I mean, Noah Cates has really come on. Does that change your assessment at all about offensively, the depth you might have, and kind of?
Well, it's been exciting to see that line, the three of them, with Forster and Brink, the way they elevated, and and it helps the rest of the lineup. Also, we've seen Tippett and Frost kind of start to get into a groove a little bit. TK has been good all year. It's not a surprise there, but I think it's helped the rest of the lineup having a line like that. And it's so funny how it happens. Sometimes you put three guys together, and sometimes you don't even expect it to really work, but you kind of put them together, and chemistry instantly comes. I was fortunate to have that in my career a few times, and it's the best feeling in the world when you go out there and you just start believing in your line. There's nothing like it, and I look at them, the three of them, they just look excited to go on the ice. They look like they know they're going to dominate and provide a spark every time they go on the ice. And even the games that it doesn't go quite as well for them, they find a way to make a big play late in the game to win it, to tie it, or whatever. That's a sign that you believe in your line mates. And like I said, it's a great feeling for them, but it's a great feeling for us to see that come together. I know for the coaching staff, it's a big relief to have a line that you can throw out there against anybody. That game in New Jersey, Jack Hughes is one of the best offensive player in the league, and having to face them shift after shift and to do as well as they did, that was really exciting to watch.
With Rasmus Ristolainen, do you expect a lot of dialogue around his name come the trade deadline, and could he maybe be one of the more difficult decisions for you?
I don't know yet. There's teams that have called to inquire, but Risto's been so good too for us, and he's not a rental. Now for us, there's no rush to treat him. We finally, have him healthy. We finally have him playing extremely well. To find a right shot D like that and to play in your top four, to play as physical as he does, they're tough to find. So, we have him here for us too. I mean, we get excited about trading him, thinking about the kind of return we can get, but, I'm not shopping him. I'm not trying to get rid of him. He's a big asset for us, and it would be a big hole if we ever have to lose him. So I really don't know. Where it's going, but I can tell you I'm not shopping him. I did receive some calls on him.
The fact that Risto has been loud and proud about saying how much he loves playing for Torts and how much he enjoys being here, does that enter into the decision at all? Because, not every player is going to get along with every coach, but does that kind of go into the thinking at all?
Yeah, and the way he's improved under Torts and Bradshaw, and it goes a long way. He keeps getting better and better. And like I said, those Those defensemen are tough to find, especially right shot, physical D that you can rely on, and he can play against all the top end players. He defends extremely well, and you watch him on the breakout, the way he uses his legs and his size to his advantage. It's a big asset. And on top of it, like you said, he likes being here. He likes to be challenged by a coach like Torts. It goes a long way.
Two guys that have been a little bit up and down are Frost and Farabee. And I know John's mentioned it before that the evaluation is still ongoing on a lot of these young guys. So where do you see those two with the way their seasons have gone? They both come out as healthy scratches at times.
Yeah.
They both sort of had hot streaks and.
Yeah, and Frosty is very similar to last year. He's a player. The deeper he gets into the season, he seems to feel better and more comfortable. We have to find a way to get him to be ready in the first 20-25 games of the season. The chemistry with him, Tippett, and Konechny has been good to see. And you talk about centermen and being tough to find. We have to be careful about a guy like Morgan Frost. So I like where he's trending. I like how he's played in the last 15, 20 games maybe. I don't have the exact number, but he's taken a step forward, and it's been good to see. Joel certainly had a rough little spell lately, but him coming back in the lineup, I thought he played extremely well the last two games. He was, that game in Long Island, he was involved on almost all the goals. He's back to making a lot of subtle little plays that you don't always see in a game. He was doing that early in the season, even though he wasn't maybe getting rewarded with points as much as he would have liked. But he went through a little spell there in the last maybe month and a half where things were not clicking and his play fell off. But the way he's played the last two games is the Joel that we need and we expect to see. So again, we have to be very careful with a 24-year-old that is still growing and learning the game.
You have, Frost is one of 4 RFAs in terms of your young core. Just where do things stand with him and can he work?
Yeah, we haven't had any discussions on contract or contract extensions with any of them at this point. So there's really no updates on that front.
Do you foresee them being part of the long-term future?
Yes. And again, we don't have any unrestricted free agents, I believe.
Well, like Eric Johnson.
Yeah, Eric. Is there anybody else? I think EJ might be the only one. So yeah, I mean it's ongoing evaluation on those guys, and I would expect them to be part of the future at this point. Yeah.
Danny, you guys have pretty much for the last 2 years been open about the fact that you guys are going to be patient with this rebuild. You're going to let it go at the pace it needs to go. But there have been some developments. You have Travis Konechny's pacing for 90 points. Mishkov comes over. He's not probably what he's going to be eventually, but he's showing he's already a good NHL player.
Yeah.
You guys are probably playing better at 5-on-5 in terms of scoring chances than you did last year. The cap's going up. Is there any thought to, maybe not kicking it into overdrive, but maybe accelerating it faster than you thought maybe this time last year?
As long as it doesn't hurt the future, it's something we're going to consider. But it's, that hasn't changed. It's for us, the future is still the key. And we're looking ahead. We're looking forward. The players are going to decide in the moment how far they want to push it. And it's been awesome to see. We talked about Cates' line. We've talked about Konechny, Tippett kind of coming around. Jamie Drysdale has been playing a lot better. So, there's a lot going on. It's exciting to see. I know it's not easy to be patient, and believe me, there's days even myself that I have to control myself because you get excited by some of the things that you see from your players. But the part that hasn't changed is we don't want to build a team that's going to make the playoffs one year, miss the playoff, make the play. We're trying to build a contender that's going to have a chance to win down the road for many years to come, and not just try to make the playoffs, but become a contender that has a chance to win a cup. That goal hasn't changed.
Scott Lawton's name is one that's come up a little bit in trade rumors. I remember last year after the deadline in where were we, Tampa, you talked about how the bar to acquire a Scott Lawton is high because of the value you place on culture. Same thing this year, 12 months later?
Absolutely. And, Scotty still has another year on his contract. He's not a rental. So he's important to the dressing room. And I really think his play has really kicked in the last 20 games. I didn't really love his start of the season. But I could go on, and most of the team as a whole, we didn't have a great start. It was tough to start out west. We didn't have a great start. It took us a few weeks to really get going. And part of that is, a guy that's one of your leader in the locker room in Scott Lawton has a lot to do with that. He's critical to our culture. But again, if there's something that makes too much sense, it's our duty to listen and to do the right thing for this organization, this team moving forward. And all the players, I've been very clear with the players. I tell them all the same thing. I'm not trying to get rid of Risto or Scott Lawton, but it's our duty to listen and do the right thing for the organization.
There he is, Flyers general manager Daniel Briere, meeting with the media yesterday at the Flyers training center. He's got some tough decisions to make, no doubt. Team's playing well, your players are more desirable too. So other GMs will make it a little tougher on you. So we'll see where this goes as we get closer to the deadline. I have a feeling we won't see much action before Four Nations. I think everything's after Four Nations to the deadline. We'll see how that plays out, though. But everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Flyers Rangers tomorrow. We'll preview it tomorrow on a brand new episode of Flyers Daily.